Hey Lashpreneurs, happy Monday to you. As a quick announcement, if you join me on any of my Build a Team Live Your Dream Masterclasses or you registered for them, the $1,000 off discount that we offer you to hire your next profit producing team member expires tomorrow night. So if you're listening to this on the day of release, it's Monday, February 6th at midnight is when that discount, that offer goes away. So go check your email to learn more about what I'm talking about. If you didn't join me on that class, totally fine. Disregard this message, but I did want to give you a heads up. That is a discount that is expiring, and that's $1,000 off. So pretty enticing. All right, on today's episode, y'all, we are going to talk about, this is going to apply to no matter what level of business you're at. If you have clients, we're going to talk about policies that are going to save your tuchus. Not just save your tuchus, but save your client. And I have had these conversations come up a few too many times over the past month that I thought it's time to do an episode on it. So y'all, please keep DMing me your questions, or if you're in any of our programs, keep asking questions in the Facebook group, because it does give me a great sense of what to talk about on the podcast, because sometimes I need some inspiration. So we're going to be talking about the cancellation policy, but a nuance to a cancellation policy that I have never heard anybody in our industry talk about, and I don't know why. So what I keep seeing conversations happen is around clients getting really pissed off about being charged for either no call, no show, or showing up late or whatever. Like they don't cancel within your cancellation period. And then, everybody's like, charge them. And then you do, or you don't, whatever. You might violate your own policies, even if you have a policy on there, but then you're afraid to charge them, right? Or it doesn't go through or whatever. And so then let's just say it does go through, then we have a really, really, really pissed off client for the most part. So how many of you can relate to that, right? Like you have a cancellation that happens outside of your cancellation policy. So like they cancel the morning of, right? For whatever reason. They're sick, they got in an accident, they woke up late, million and a half different things. Somebody came down with COVID, their child's sick, inclement weather, whatever, right? Millions of reasons of why people would not be able to show up and not be able to cancel in enough notice. And so the default in our industry is charge them, full service, 100%, which I get to some extent, right? Like that's our time too. We can't always just get somebody else in the door, so that's lost money. But that tends to piss off clients. Why? Because they're paying for something they never got. They are just giving money to you. And most people ain't that way. They don't like that. And especially if you happen to compete on price a lot, you're probably bringing in people who are very price sensitive to begin with, so they don't have money just to throw at nothing. So then what ends up happening? We get a very disgruntled client. So sometimes we don't even charge, right? So then we just eat the cost. So that's not always the most effective. Or we get somebody who is blasting us in all kinds of directions online, on reviews, anywhere where anybody will listen. Sometimes they dispute the credit card charges. And if we haven't had them sign terms and conditions to say that they agree to this policy, then that money's going to get taken out of our bank account because they're going to win. So there's a lot that goes on there when we piss clients off because we take money that they were not anticipating being taken out. So that's what we're going to cover today, is how to avoid that. Wouldn't you like to know, right? Okay, so my request, if you really enjoy this episode and you're really excited about it, take a screenshot of you listening, tag me on social media at The Lashpreneur, and at Lessons of the Lashpreneur Show. So that's our podcast specific Instagram, but you can tag us in both places because I want to see that, yes, this is the type of content that you want, that you're listening to it. That way we can create more stuff like this. So how do we handle that? Well, first and foremost, we need to have a conversation about policies. Lots of y'all don't have a backbone. You people pleasers out there. And as a recovering people pleaser, I can identify and relate to your struggles. However, you run a business, and sometimes that means that you're going to piss some people off. So how do we avoid pissed off people where we don't have to have our people pleasing tendencies triggered? We communicate really well. And it is your burden as the business owner to be able to communicate the things that are going to affect a client negatively well in advance of anything happening. So for those of you who think that them checking, I agree to the terms and conditions of this booking at the time of checkout, and there's no list there, or it's somewhere on your website, and you think, okay, they read that, I call poo hockey. Have y'all read the terms and conditions of the app that you're listening to this podcast on? Probably not. People don't read that junk. Most people don't read contracts, even if it's printed out right in front of them, they have to sign it. Most people don't do that. Fine, that's human nature. We need to accept that most people are going to read our policies. Why? Because they're boring. However, they are a part of being able to communicate to clients of an if this, then that type of scenario. If situation A happens, here's what happens on the other side of that. Here's the cause, here's the effect. That's what your policies are. So by you just assuming that because they check the box or because it's on your website or because you sent it in an email or because they even signed the piece of paper, that they understand and agree to it. Now, yes, from a legal standpoint, if they sign something, that can be shown in court that they agree to it, whether they read it or not. It's like the laws, right? Just because you don't know the laws doesn't mean they don't apply to you. They apply to everyone. You may just not know them, but you still have to abide by them. Now, that assumption, making an ass out of you and me, that assumption that they understand your policies and will comply with them, if you don't have the actual confirmation and conversation with them that they understand it, doesn't exactly benefit either party now, does it? Because you want to enforce the policies and they're unclear of what they are. So when their money comes out of their bank account or whatever the violation is, they're going to go, I didn't know that. You never told me. And you're going to be like, you signed or checked the box or read the data. Right? So it is not in anyone's best interest to assume that somebody knows your policies. Hence, during your consultation, when you first have a client in, take the time to go through the policies so they know what they're agreeing to. Because at that point, if they don't want to agree to the policies, they may leave. Bye-bye. Off you go. Toodaloo. You don't want to play the game of this business, then you don't get to play in this business, right? You don't want to follow my policies, you don't get to be a part of this business, you don't get the results that I offer. I've had 2 instances of that where I had policies, went over with a client, she said, I don't want to agree to that. And I said, then I will not be servicing you today. I wish you the best. I didn't charge her because that's fine. She didn't know that before getting into this and she didn't know that showing up, but I'm certainly not going to move forward with the service of somebody who doesn't agree to the policies that are put in place to protect both her and me. So we can agree to disagree and off you go. Enjoy going to a place that has no policies and the ish show that might turn out to be. Okay, so specifically today I want to talk about a cancellation policy, but a subset of the cancellation policy that is going to have you coming out looking like roses. And actually, in my experience with this specific policy, had my clients reaching out to me saying, hey, forgot about the appointment. Go ahead and send me the invoice. I'll pay it by end of day and then we can reschedule. My clients were reaching out to me with that statement. Why? Because of this policy. Okay, you ready for it? It is a one-time emergency, last minute, whatever you want to call it, cancellation policy. The one-time emergency policy, cancellation policy. I need to say that. The one-time emergency cancellation policy. What does that look like? That specifically, it's in our cancellation policies, and I'm going to give you guys a link to go download a sample policy form to see just kind of different examples of policies you could have in your business. Now, policies, if they're signed, can be a legal contract, so I would have them reviewed by an attorney in your state to make sure they're enforceable. This is for educational purposes only. Okay, so you have your cancellation policy with whatever the consequence is if they cancel within the last minute. Now, I have a clause in there, if you will, or a sentence in there that says a one-time allowance of a last-minute cancellation or reschedule will be permitted for sickness or a last-minute emergency. After that, the cancellation and no-show policy is in effect. Okay? So what does that look like? Here's the thing. I don't want to get into a situation where I have to decide whether somebody's excuse is a valid emergency or not. I don't want to be put in that position. How I came up with this policy was I had a client, longtime client of mine, who called me probably half an hour before her appointment, right? It was roughly going to be around $130 service, saying, my parents' basement just flooded and there's nobody else that can get there to let the plumber in. I have to cancel my appointment and go do that. Now, is that an emergency? Sure, to her and her family it was. To me, meh. There's other people that can do it. Why her, right? That's $130 that I'm losing out on because of a water flood of somebody else's issue. So it puts me in this kind of a bind of, well, I could enforce the cancellation policy, but chances are I'm going to lose that client, right? Because this to her is a true emergency. So she's in the emotion of it. And so I'm going to look like an ASS if I, charge her, but she signed the policy. So, her bad. Or if there's like kids that are sick, right? It's like, I mean, technically, yes. I mean, that could be seen as I don't want them coming in sick, right? Like, I don't want the kid coming in sick. So it kind of puts you in this weird position of like, how much do I enforce this versus having some humanity to me? But then I also run a business, and Tara says, like, go with the data. It put me in a weird spot that I didn't like being in. So I thought, okay, we're going to creatively problem solve here. What's the win-win? Right? Because it's not fair for me to lose out on sales and money. I couldn't have replaced that sales amount that day with that client because it was only 30 minutes to our appointment. But it's also not necessarily fair to her if I put myself in her shoes of like, well, she's really got to go handle the stuff. We're talking like property damage that could be tens of thousands of dollars. Like $130 is not on her mind, but she also doesn't want to pay it for nothing. So chances are if I charged her on it, that would be the last dollar I had coming in from her. And do I really want to risk like a really good client who 99.9% of the time is great? Nah. So what's the win? What's the win-win-win? The win for me, the win for the client, the win for the business. That's where this policy was born. So what this policy looks like is it opens up the opportunity for you to extend an olive branch to say that you understand and that you're a human being. You understand that life happens sometimes. And here's the beautiful thing, and something you people pleasers are really going to have to work on. It sets a boundary. And it communicates the expectation from there forward. It is sheer genius. So let's say this situation happened again. I'll walk you through how that conversation went once I came up with this policy and kind of understood how to implement it. Okay, so you go through the policies before there's ever a problem. First time with a client, you share everything with them, okay? So then you get to the point where you're talking about this and you say, totally understand that sometimes last minute stuff comes up. That's why we have this one-time last minute emergency cancellation policy, that if you should need to cancel your appointment within that 24-hour cancellation period, there will be a one-time exception to cancel without a fee, whatever your fee is. Anytime after that, once you've used that one-time emergency cancellation, you will be charged the cancellation fee no matter what. You say that before they've ever been charged, before there's ever an issue, that here's where the boundary is. I'm willing to make a one-time exception because I totally understand life happens and sometimes things are out of our control. Cool. However, if you violate it again, we're not having a pattern or repeated behavior where you're going to walk all over me here. You're going to be charged no matter what. So she can know that no matter what the emergency is, she's going to be charged if she misses an appointment. It sets the healthy business boundary. I've given you an olive branch for a one-time emergency. I had the conversation that, hey, this is you using your one-time emergency. So just as a heads up, go take care of whatever you need to take care of, girl, today. I totally understand it. We'll get you in next week. Let me know when things have calmed down. But I want to just communicate the policy again, that this is you using your one-time emergency policy. So if you cancel within that 24-hour period again, from here forward, you will be charged 100% of the service, no matter what. Have a good day. I hope things calm down. Boom. Do you know what that does to build trust in a client who's like, thank you so much. Oh my God, I was so worried I was going to get charged. Oh, other places have charged me before when this stuff came up, whatever. But you've also stated, no matter what, you're going to be charged. So guess what happens if that happens again? You charge them, right? So they say, oh my God, I can't make it. I'm sick, whatever. You say, okay, totally fine. We're going to go ahead and I'll cancel your appointment today. I'm going to send you the invoice because you've already used your one-time emergency cancellation. So that's already been used. So today, I'm going to send you the invoice or charge a card for Once I receive that payment, we'll go ahead and get you rescheduled. Feel better, right? You take the emotion out of it because they have already been communicated to that this policy is going to be in effect from here forward. Now, if they have an issue with that, that's where I'm okay being like, well, you're a grown adult. You agreed to this. You already knew this was going to happen because I communicated it to you in October, or I communicated it to you last month or last year, right? Can't you make another exception? I've already made the one-time exception. That was our agreement on the policies, right? If they don't want to pay it, cool. Then they're firing themselves as a client. Problem solved, right? I'm not going to continue to promote and bad behavior and clients walking all over me or costing me money by not showing up. I want solid, consistent clients who occasionally, yeah, sure, have a one-time emergency, but if you're a grown adult and can't show up to an appointment you scheduled consistently, then I ain't got no time for you in my business, right? Like that's not somebody I can grow a business sustainably on for the long term. So she needs to go. So this is just one example of many of how communicating policies and finding a win-win-win, a win for you, a win for the business, a win for the client, can really create a beautiful reputation for your business, clear expectations and communication, and clients fully understanding the responsibility that they have to show up for their appointments. What a concept. That way everybody gets paid, gets the lashes they want, the business stays open, we get fully booked. It's all around a win. So if you want to learn more about how to enforce policies, right, or what policies you should have, or you want to just take a look at some example ones, you can head on over to thelashpreneur.com/policies to download this free policy form template, whatever it is, to just kind of see how I've worded it. But again, if it's a legally document that you're having clients agree to and sign, run it by an attorney. But these are the ones that I used in my business that were really effective in me communicating the most common issues that I'd run into and running a beauty service-based business. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Have a good one.